If you know exactly what you want in life, then this video is not for you. But if you don't quite know what you want, you're trying to figure out your purpose, you feel like you're held back by a lack of clarity and a lack of certainty, then keep watching because we're going to fix that. There's this trap that I call the purpose fallacy. You believe that if you could simply gain clarity on exactly where it is that you want to go and what it is you want to do, then everything will fall into place. You'll work hard, you'll be disciplined, you'll feel endless energy and motivation, and your self-doubt will disappear. When you believe this, you end up spending a lot of time thinking, theorizing, dreaming, journaling, planning, trying to capture this elusive sense of purpose, this clarity on what it is you should be doing with your life. You do this because you think that's the path to clarity and purpose. We want clarity, we want purpose. A strong sense of purpose is useful. It drives us, it energizes us, it allows us to filter out projects, goals, and tasks that may or may not fit with our vision. The problem is how we're getting there, how we're trying to find that purpose and clarity. And when you suffer from the purpose fallacy, you falsely believe that you can merely think your way to a sense of clarity and purpose. But in 99% of cases, you can't. It's extremely hard to find your purpose by merely thinking about it. And there are many reasons why it's hard to do this, why it's hard to think our way towards some sort of grand purpose for our lives. First, our desires change over time. What you wanted 5 to 10 years ago is likely different to what you want now. To expect your younger self or your current self to design some sort of grand purpose for your life is naive. Knowing what you want is a process of discovery, not design. And discovery requires entering the world and reacting to what it puts in your way, then introspecting on those reactions and how they made you feel. The second reason it's hard to think your way towards some sort of grand purpose is that if you're falling into the purpose fallacy in the first place, it's likely because you have optionality. You have an abundance of choice. It might not feel that way, but if you didn't have optionality, you wouldn't really be thinking. You'd be working to create optionality and choice. Let me give you an example because that might sound a little bit abstract. When I was 20 years old, I had just gone full-time in my business, and I remember doing a quick analysis of the income that was coming in and the expenses that were going out. And I realized that I had 2 weeks left before I wouldn't be able to afford rent. 2 weeks left of runway, personally. At that point in time, I was not thinking about my purpose in life. I was not thinking about how to gain clarity. I already had clarity. I had a problem staring me in the face. I needed to make some money so I could pay rent. There was very little optionality or choice or which path in life do I take. It was immediate. It was either figure this out or I'm going to have to get a job in 2 weeks or I'm going to have to leave this place because I can't afford to stay here. And so the opposite of that is where you do have optionality, where you don't have that immediate pressure. And that's what leads to you thinking and overthinking because you have the luxury of doing so. But likely this thinking, it doesn't get you any closer to your purpose or clarity, right? Especially if you've done it for like months or years on end. You probably haven't got any closer. And that's because thinking, ruminating, overthinking, it requires no risk, no courage, which is usually what actually gives you clarity of purpose. Nassim Taleb once wrote that mental clarity is the child of courage, not the other way around. We think that we'll gain courage if we could just find clarity, but actually it's the other way around. We often gain clarity after we make commitments and follow through on them despite the uncertainty and risk that we face. And this leads me to the final problem with thinking your way to purpose or clarity. And it's that it's not generative, right? There's no reaction to your thinking. You're not putting anything out into the world. There's no reaction to your thinking. There's no feedback. The only thing that you're experiencing is the inner dialogue that you're having. Or maybe you have a conversation with someone and they can give you feedback, but that's still not really generative. You must take action to start discovering your purpose. And to understand why this is, we need to understand the stasis loop and how to escape it using the creative action cycle. So let's talk about this, the stasis loop and the evolution of purpose and clarity. When we're trapped in the purpose fallacy, we're spinning our wheels. We go around in circles. Perhaps we wake up one day, we have a surge in clarity and we think, finally, this is what I need to do. This is my purpose. But we don't really act on it. Maybe we put a few hours into something, a small little project or some sort of goal, but then we wake up the next day and we tell ourselves that maybe this isn't the right path. I need to go back to the drawing board. I need to think about this more. And so we repeat the cycle. So over the course of months or a year, we have these little moments of clarity, or maybe this is what I should do. And the energy and the motivation kind of charge up and then they dissipate. They go away and you're back to thinking. You're back to cycling. You're back to ruminating about it all. There's no consistency. There's no compounding. This is called the stasis loop or the inaction loop. I've talked about it many times before on the channel. You could call it the comfort zone, but as you know, the comfort zone gets very uncomfortable very quickly because it's an uncomfortable thing to know that you have potential that you're not actively working towards. There's a gap between who you know you can be and who you are today, and it's vast, and your behaviors are not getting you any closer. One of those behaviors is what we just looked at, going around in circles, hoping to come across some sort of supreme clarity that changes everything all at once. But the purpose and clarity you seek exist outside the stasis loop. You cannot find them inside it. Outside the loop are multiple paths. These paths are the beginnings of clarity and purpose. And you want to venture down them and see where they lead. But you can't do that until you exit the stasis loop and enter the world of action and consequence. Once you do exit the loop, you can start venturing down these paths. Initially, you might not even be on a path. It might feel like walking through thick forest. But eventually, through taking action, you'll find a path and it will excite you and you'll start going down it. Of course, there will be doubts. You might backtrack. You might feel the gravitational pull of the stasis loop, but you'll continue on. And as you make decisions and you progress, your sense of purpose and clarity will evolve. What seemed like a random path in the beginning is now much clearer. Perhaps you can see an objective near the end. But more importantly, you can see how traveling along the path is changing who you are. You think back to your time stuck in the stasis loop and know that you never want to go back there, as alluring as it may seem at times. So we need to escape the stasis loop. And we can do that using something that Phil Stutz calls the creative action cycle. It involves three main components: instinct, action, and consequence. You have an instinct. You act on that instinct. You get some sort of consequence, some reaction to your action. It might be good, it might be bad. If it's bad, then you perform a correction and you repeat the cycle. Instinct and action are what pull you out of the stasis loop. Instinct is the antithesis to circular, unproductive overthinking. You must train yourself to take action on it because it's a genuine signal. Perhaps you feel an impulse to make a YouTube video on a topic that you've been researching and reading about, just out of personal enjoyment. Your tendency in the past has been to suppress this instinct because it requires you to take action and do work, which is uncomfortable. But again, this is a positive instinct, positive impulse, right? And unless you already know exactly what it is you should be doing and you're working towards it and can confidently say that making this video is a distraction from your grand purpose, then why not act on it? Because it beats rumination. It beats the swimming around in the stasis loop, not getting anywhere. So you have the instinct and then you take action on this instinct. You start writing the script for your video. And almost straight away, you experience the first consequence. That consequence might simply be that you feel enjoyment, you feel satisfaction, you feel a state of flow as you're writing, you're in the zone, you're enjoying the process, and that consequence then produces a new instinct, which might be that you want to continue writing the script. Feels good. I should keep doing this. I'll keep working. I'll keep pushing through. At some point, you finalize the video and it's ready to publish. And now you experience a new consequence. And that consequence is maybe that you feel fear. You don't know if you want to publish it. You're worried about the criticism. So you have a choice. You make the choice. You take courage. You do it anyway, which introduces a new set of consequences. Maybe no one watches it and it just disappears into the ether on the internet, never to be seen. Or maybe it goes viral. You get a ton of subscribers in your life. Changes. You simply don't know what can or will happen as you work your way through this creative action cycle. As Phil Stutz writes, each consequence leads to a new instinct, which starts the cycle again. The truly successful person has the courage to work the cycle over and over again. So you use this cycle to escape the stasis loop, and then you continue cycling through it as you travel down paths. It is the engine by which you transport yourself along the path towards clarity and purpose. Now, I'm going to wrap this up soon, and I want to give an actionable plan for you over the next 21 days. But one more principle, really quick, that I want to share is that you need to stop thinking that you need certainty in order to act. You are a more powerful person if you can learn to live with uncertainty and discomfort than to try to eliminate it. Uncertainty will always be there in some form or fashion. It's unlikely that you will arrive at a point in life where you have complete clarity or certainty, because even if you have it in one domain, like your work, it probably won't last because your career is dynamic. And then there are other domains like family, health, personal pursuits that contain their own uncertainty and constant decisions to be made. So I don't know about you, but I would rather be the person who develops the courage and the strength to act in a uncertain world than to try and change that world, which is futile. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually do this. Let's talk about how to make this a reality, how to escape the stasis loop and get closer to figuring out your purpose and your clarity. We're going to shorten our time horizon. This is the most important thing. We're going to forget the long-term goals. We're going to forget the big picture and just focus on doing one thing for 21 days. Our goal here is to get ourselves into a state of forward motion, into that creative action cycle, right? So that we can get real data and signal that guides us towards our purpose. First, I want you to think of all the things that you could do with your life, all the purposes you've thought about and ruminated on and not committed to. Write them all down. Maybe you want to be a writer. Maybe you want to build a business. Maybe you want to be an athlete. I don't know what it is, but write all these down, everything that comes to mind. Next, write down a 21-day measurable project for each one. If you want to be a writer, then it could simply be 21 days of writing for an hour each day with the goal of publishing something at the end. If you want to be an entrepreneur, then it could be 21 days of cold outreach. Figure out a basic action, something simple that you can repeat for 21 days, or a 21-day project where you're doing different tasks towards an end goal. Once you've done this, look at the list and choose one. Choose the one that appeals to you most. It's at this moment that the overthinking brain might spark up and you might be thinking, oh, I could do this, but what if this happens? Or maybe I should pick this instead, or, it doesn't matter because it's 21 days. And if you make the wrong decision, it's fine. Also, making a decision will bring you closer to your goal of figuring out what it is you want to do than more thinking will. So if there's not one that's particularly appealing, they're all equally appealing, choose one. Close your eyes if you need to, just pick one. You can always do the others later if you want. The point here is not to do the 21-day project. It's to do the 21-day project so that you can get the consequence that informs the new instinct, that informs the action and the next consequence, and ultimately leads you to the path that you should be on. So once you've chosen something, then write out the exact tasks and work that needs to be done to the best of your knowledge. So with the writing example, it might be that you write 1 hour per day without distraction. Write that down, pen and paper, and then also write out what you will not do during the 21 days, because you probably have to sacrifice something. For me, it's almost always the distracting side projects that pull me away from what I should be doing and stop me from building momentum. So if I was doing this, I would write down, I'm going to write for 1 hour per day. I am not going to work on side project A and B and C. Put that down on paper, make it very clear in your mind. Then every morning over the 21 days, I want you to remind yourself of your goal. Write it down, pen and paper. I'll write 1 hour per day for the next 21 days. And then stick to it. Do not quit. When you feel like quitting, remind yourself that the character traits you build by enduring and following through are valuable, they are rare, and they are powerful. And you might be thinking, man, what's the point of this? 21 days? Like, I've done bigger things in the past. I'm actually looking for the thing that I can really sink my teeth into. But you're not above this. The purpose of this, of working on and finishing some sort of project over 21 days, is it's not about whether the project succeeds or not. 21 days is not enough time to do something incredible, right? The main purpose of doing this is to give yourself a new data point that gets you closer to clarity, to your purpose, that puts you in the creative action cycle, that puts you into forward motion, that gets you out of your head and into the world. So that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Love to know your thoughts. Leave a comment below, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.